The room was always quiet when Ion woke up. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that felt heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Outside his small window, the city was already alive with noise, horns, voices, footsteps, but inside his house, silence ruled. His father left early for work, his mother spoke only when needed, and Ion had learned from a very young age that words were not welcome here. At school, things were not very different. Ion was known as the boy who never spoke. Teachers marked him present, classmates passed by him, and life moved on. When the teacher asked questions, many hands shot up, but Ion stayed down even when he knew the answer. It was not that he didn't have thoughts. His mind was full, always busy, always thinking. But his voice felt trapped somewhere deep inside him, like a bird afraid to leave its cage. During lunch breaks, he sat alone under the old neem tree in the corner of the school ground. Other boys laughed, argued, and shared stories, but Ion listened. He listened to everything: the tone of voices, the pauses between words, the emotions hidden behind smiles. Slowly, without realizing it, he became very good at understanding people, even without them saying much. One day, a new teacher joined the school. Her name was Mrs. Mira. She was different from the others. She spoke softly but with confidence, and when she looked at students, it felt like she was really seeing them. On her first day, she asked everyone to introduce themselves. When it was Ion's turn, the classroom went quiet. He stood up, his heart started beating fast. Words came to his lips but refused to move forward. Seconds passed, some students giggled. The teacher waited. "It's okay," Mrs. Mira said gently. "You can take your time." But time didn't help. Ion sat down without saying a word. He expected anger or disappointment, but instead the teacher simply nodded and moved on. After class, she stopped him. "Ion," she said, "I noticed you listened very carefully." He looked down, unsure of what to say. "Silence is not weakness," she continued. "Sometimes it means you are collecting something important." Those words stayed with him the whole day. That evening, Ion sat in his room and opened his old notebook. He had many notebooks like this, filled with thoughts he never spoke. He wrote about his day, about the neem tree, about the teacher's eyes that didn't judge him. Writing was the only place where his voice felt free. Days passed, and Mrs. Mira often gave activities that didn't need loud talking: group writing, silent reading, observing nature. Ion felt comfortable in her class. Slowly, other students began to notice him, not because he spoke, but because his written work was always deep and thoughtful. One afternoon, the school announced a storytelling competition. Students could either speak on stage or submit a written story. Most chose the stage. Ion chose the paper. He worked on his story every night. He wrote about a boy who lived in silence but understood the world better than anyone else. He wrote about pain, hope, and quiet strength. When he finished, his hands were shaking, but his heart felt light. On the day of results, the principal called his name. Ion walked to the front, confused and scared. The principal smiled and said, "This story touched everyone who read it." The hall was full of claps, loud claps. Ion felt uncomfortable but also proud. Mrs. Mira came to him later and said, "You see, your voice was never missing, it was just choosing a different path." That night, Ion realized something important. Being quiet didn't mean being invisible. It meant having a different way of expressing yourself. As years passed, life tested him in many ways. College interviews, new cities, new people. The world always favored loud voices, confident speeches, and fast answers. Ion struggled at times. There were moments when he wished he could speak like others, joke easily, argue loudly. But he also noticed something else. When people talked to him, they felt heard. When he spoke, only when needed, people listened. His words carried weight because he didn't waste them. In college, he joined a small writing club. There, he met others like him, quiet thinkers, deep listeners. They shared ideas without pressure. For the first time, Ion felt he truly belonged. One day, the club was asked to organize a motivational session for new students. Everyone expected the loudest member to lead it, but someone suggested Ion. He wanted to say no. Fear rushed in like an old friend, but then he remembered Mrs. Mira's words: "Silence is not weakness." On the day of the session, Ion stood on stage. The hall was full. He took a deep breath and didn't rush. The room slowly became quiet. "I am not here to shout at you," he said calmly. "I am here to remind you that you don't need to be loud to matter." He spoke about listening, about understanding yourself, about how silence can help you hear your true voice. His words were simple but honest. When he finished, there was silence again, then applause, not rushed, not forced, real. Years later, Ion became a writer. His books didn't have dramatic titles or bold promises, but those who read them felt seen. His words reached people who felt lost in a noisy world. He never became the loudest person in the room. He never tried to be. He learned that his strength was in being quiet, in choosing words carefully, in understanding before speaking. And every time he felt unsure, he reminded himself that silence is not empty. It is full of answers, waiting for the right moment to be heard. In a world that never stops talking, Ion found his voice by embracing quiet. And through that quiet, he discovered who he truly was.